This is The Voice Room.
Hello and welcome to The Voice Room, a show about my voiceover journey and helping you find your voice. I'm your host, Anthony VA. This first episode is about my plans for this podcast and the beginning of my journey. Hopefully this helps a lot of voice actors out there, big or small. The point of this is to talk about my experience so far as a growing voice actor and hopefully uplift others in the same shoes. Moving right into it, I started my voiceover journey about a year ago, back in February. For a long time up to that point, I was unclear of what I wanted to do for the future, something that'll stick because I was all over the place with it. I did have a clear goal of making a YouTube career for years, but I was hitting a plateau. I needed some more substance, a pivot. So I thought about the things I was passionate about and interested in, and seeing if I could implement them to YouTube. But then I wondered, what is it I'm actually good at and that I wanted to do? Then it hit me. I have been doing voices and doing YouTube for over 9 years by that time. Why not try to get into voiceover and voice acting? That would be pretty awesome. I already tossed around the idea with my friends before and I was encouraged to try it. So I did some research for a little while, figuring out places I could get started on. I looked to freelance service sites and created an account on Fiverr. There I set up my first 3 gigs, which at the time were voice impression of Xiao from Genshin Impact, voice impression of Razor from Genshin Impact, and a young male voice actor. Pretty funny and not exactly great marketing wise, but I figured if I could do impressions, why not monetize for people who want those character voices? So I set them up, and 6 to 7 days later, I get approached to do a YouTube video and eventually started my first order. Now, I'm gonna tell you this right now. There were a lot of things I did wrong leading up to this that I learned from, and definitely don't want you making if you're starting out or just happen to get put in this scenario. For starters, in the beginning of this interaction, the client asked if I could make a YouTube video of the top 10 faceless channel niches. I just figured I would voice it, but then as I talked with him and realized it, I saw that he wanted me to research my own topics, script the video, and then voice it. Luckily, I didn't have to do anything video-wise, but still, that's a lot. That's literally almost all the work myself and my naive self just agreed to it blindly. I didn't charge an extra fee for script writing and research, and this is a 2,000 word script, which at the time I charged $50 to voice this. I only charged that and for nothing else. I wouldn't realize how much it would have bit me on the butt. I just need to make it clear, do not undersell yourself like I did that time. I would definitely charge more for script writing and research because that is so much work. For reference, if I was in that situation today, I would have charged $100 for the 2,000 word voiceover, another $100 to write for said 2,000 words, and probably around $20 or so for the research. So $220 for the total. However, realistically, I'd still refuse if I had to put in that much work since I'm the voice actor, not the entire content creator for the channel. Now, to get to the rest of this story, this order got placed somewhere around 11 PM to 12 AM. I quickly started on the research and skimmed through every bit of knowledge I can get online for these niches. Luckily, I already had years of YouTube experience and was already familiar with what's hot and popular for the faceless channel niches, so I didn't have to do too much research except for where to place these things on the list based off avenue and popularity. I managed to get all top 10 faceless channel niches set up in 30 minutes to an hour, and then I went to sleep. I had a big day tomorrow, I thought to myself. I woke up, had breakfast, brainstormed the script format and how I was going to break it all up so I can make it easier, and started working on it for a while. I got to one niche topic paragraph already done. Towards like 12 to 1, I want to say, I started my daily walk around the neighborhood. At the time anyway. I've been inconsistent on exercise these days, but that's not really the point. During this walk, kind of jogging every once in a while, I was also doing the script on my phone. I don't know how this was so effective, but that crunch time, that brain power and exercise did a lot for me, because I was working up a storm with the ideas and typing down the script. I got so much of that work done that by the hour or so of me walking around the neighborhood, I got about 4 topics done. As I'm resting for a little bit, I get 1 topic done and I go shower. I thought about the formatting and the ideas for the last 5 or so and got to work once I was done with that. I spent a few hours doing the script, and before I knew it, I finished the script and it was around 6 to 7 at the time. Now I had to crunch in that recording to tie it all together. I had some retakes here and there and was figuring out some editing, but I did send it around 9:30. I was starting to cut it close at only 2 hours or so left. Once I sent it, I apologized for taking a while, and then I mentioned how I changed my policy to 1 to 2 day delivery for this length of projects, and also that if there's anything that they didn't like, I would improve it. This is where things get even more messed up because I send it, but they don't review it or anything, so the delivery is just sitting there. For those that are not accustomed to Fiverr's system, if a buyer leaves a delivery sitting there for 2 days, the order finishes and the payment automatically goes through. Now, there is this clearing period of 2 weeks, or it's 1 week if you are subscribed to Seller Plus or if you are a top rated seller. But at that point, you can also just do the instant payment for a small fee. But yeah, so after complete silence and waiting for those 2 days, the order goes through. I found it so strange, but I felt so defeated that I didn't get my first review because of that. Yeah, there's a window of time where the buyer can still leave you the review after the order has gone through, but I figured that wasn't going to happen, and I was correct. I don't think about it for a while, but then I take a look at their profile and I noticed their review history. There were 6 orders before me that gave 5 stars and stuff like that, so it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. But then I noticed 2 orders at the same time or a little after me, and those 2 sellers were voice actresses that gave 1-star reviews in. So I go, what's going on here? And then I go read them. The first one is saying that he was unprofessional, tried to get her to communicate outside of Fiverr, which is against the terms of service, by the way, for you guys. And then she says to not recommend any girl to work with him because she's experienced a harassment attempt on his order. That blew my mind, and I was just shocked that that's who I worked with. I see the second review saying that he's rude, disrespectful, and doesn't know how to explain what he means, and that she recorded and wrote for 7 hours waiting for respectful feedback and instead got him calling her work garbage and that it sucks. She then said that she'll definitely raise a complaint to the Fiverr community of this rude person. Now, I learned a very valuable lesson that day. I learned a lot more valuable lessons just during that time in general, like knowing your client and not underselling yourself. Moral of that story is know your client, don't undersell your voiceover services, even if you're desperate and starting out. The lessons don't end there, because for the last lesson and experience for today, this is about my second order. I get my second order almost a month after the first one. Now, this person wanted a video testimony of my experience working with him and all that. So, a lie and a video. Big red flags, and I still took it because I thought it's a small, quick order, and I figured this bottom of the barrel stuff will end soon. And this is what it takes to grow. It doesn't, and it's perfectly fine to take smaller jobs than you would like, but it's also perfectly okay to refuse and have more respect for yourself and what you're offering. After some back and forth about how I need to do this and be more natural on camera, I did, and then I changed my policy so that I don't get this stuff again. However, the buyer highlighted it on my gig, so it's always going to be there. For those of you that don't know, if a buyer wants to, they can highlight their order with you on your Fiverr gig. You cannot remove individual highlights. The option is either don't allow highlights at all or roll with it, which I hope Fiverr changes. It's still up there to this day, but it's luckily the newest order highlight first, so if more people do that with actual good orders, then there's less chance people swipe and see that. But still, I'd like those changes made. The main takeaway from this is that things can be rough in the beginning, and you might want to take every odd lowball job to get your name out there, and that's a voice actor, but in the end, it's always best to take it slow and respect yourself and your voiceover services. The jobs will come. It's really difficult to get the first few jobs, but once you do, it'll count so much more because they're good commissions and you don't have to worry about that bringing you down as you try to grow, like how it was for me. Hopefully you learned something and connected with what I've talked about today. That's going to be it for this episode. If you enjoyed, make sure to give it a rating on the hosting site that you are watching this from and leave feedback. Thanks for watching The Voice Room. Take care, everyone.